Welcome back, you big ranker. This week we're going to go back to site reviews. Someone on Facebook has asked us, Ron from Stop Noise. This is Ron here. Looks suspiciously like a boxer. And from Carrum Downs, where my old office was and where my boat is. And happy to catch up for a cup of coffee, Ron, next time you're out that way. He's got a site called stopnoise.com.au. Let's go and have a look at it. Okay, now first thing that strikes me here, Ron, is your keywords that you've chosen. Now, it's good that you've actually made some decisions about what's going to be in the page title. That's great. The questions I have are, secondary glazing, it took me a second to try to actually work out what that was. Now, you know your industry better than I do. I hadn't heard that phrase before. I've always heard it as double glazing. And there's probably a very good reason why you're saying secondary glazing here. And you've probably got very good reasons for doing it. When I went and did the research, though, in Google Insights for search, and we looked at double glazing up against secondary glazing in Australia, we can see here that this blue line here is double glazing. So you can see here that, in relative to secondary glazing, or secondary glazing and relative to double glazing, secondary glazing is flatlining. We've seen this little bump last year. Whether that was because something was in the news or whatever, I don't know. But something for you to think about, I'm sure you already have. The curious thing, though, for me, who is uneducated in the ways of double glazing and secondary glazing, is that you actually do mention double glazing on the page as well, where it says down here, add on double glazing. And I suspect what the difference is, from what I can tell, is that I've already got single glazed windows. Now I want to make them double glazed. Well, to do that, you've got to do secondary glazing. I think that's the distinction. But it's something to think about what your market is doing. Are they thinking about, gee, I've got single glazed windows, how do I make them double glazed? Or are they just starting their search off with, how do I get double glazing? Something to research. The second thing that stands out for me here is that even though we've made some decisions here about your keywords, we're separating them with a comma. I prefer to separate these things with a pipe, because a comma can kind of mean a sentence, which is all the one thought. The pipe character, which is shift /, is a separator. It says stop, next phrase. So it just breaks the phrases up more evenly. And the other thing here is that we've got Melbourne, Geelong, Australia. Well, I would ditch the word Australia, because Google is smart enough to know that your site, being a .com.au, is geared towards Australian, so it's going to deliver that to an Australian audience. So people typically, for these sorts of searches, aren't going to put a country search in unless there's someone overseas who maybe has a house in Australia that they're looking to find someone. It's a long shot, right? That audience is going to be tiny. So what you want to do is get rid of that word Australia altogether. Melbourne and Geelong in the page title like this, really probably, it's not helping a lot. Typically what you would do, say you wanted to rank for secondary glazing Melbourne and secondary glazing Geelong, you would have a separate page with a separate page title with, say, secondary glazing Geelong, just on your site about your secondary glazing services in Geelong. Okay, so by just adding them at the end here, it isn't really doing anything for you at all. I would try to get them on the front page, maybe put a link here about your Geelong services as opposed to your Melbourne services, if that's really important to you. But my preliminary search of those phrases shows that you're ranking pretty well anyway. When we go and have a look at, say, not that one, but when we go and have a look at, this is a search for double glazing, and I see you're advertising here with AdWords, and you're also ranking. I thought I saw you ranking here somewhere. No, maybe not. Okay, so you've bought the double glazing phrase and you're ranking organically for secondary glazing. But when we have a look at secondary glazing competition, you're doing really well, as you probably know. And so those couple of changes I've mentioned, there's another one which I'll come back to in a second. And I've just done that searching.com, which is why we can't see anything. We can see here that, you know, you're second and third ranked for secondary glazing. Now, this site above you, it doesn't have that many backlinks. The links that we know about to your site are not many either, but they do have more than you. They have like 10 more than you do or something like that. One thing that you might want to do is get involved in, say, some of the forums around the place, the home improvement forums, that sort of thing. Add advice to people who are looking to do this sort of thing. Don't go in and spam the forums. That's not what it's about. It's about just giving advice, giving it away for free. The other thing that we can see here is that this site has actually got glaze in the domain. That's probably helping them a little bit. But this site does not have any what we call heading tags, and neither does yours. So what I would advise is for you to get some heading tags, get some H1s, some H2s. One of the things that you can do up here is we're saying reduce noise by up to 70%. That's important, right? That's your marketing pitch, right? That's what people want to do. And then we've gone on to say with stop noise secondary glazing. I would actually probably change this or a little bit to something like secondary glazing will reduce noise by up to 70%. We don't really need stop noise in here again because we're on the stop noise side. We've got the nice big stop noise logo up here. And by putting secondary glazing will reduce noise by up to 70%, that's going to help get you ranked. I would prefer to have secondary glazing in a heading 1 by itself, but I understand that could be a little bit counterintuitive to the user. The other thing down here is we talk about why secondary glazing. You might want to put in, you know, what is secondary glazing or why secondary glazing, but make this a H2, a heading 2. And then you've got some, we've got links down here. No, we don't have any links down here. I wouldn't mind seeing maybe, say, repeating some of these links, which are actually, these top menu links are actually graphics. So those words in those links aren't actually helping you at all because they're graphics. These sub ones seem to be text. No, maybe not. They're graphics too. So maybe get some of these links, you know, just in here under this heading 2. Not a lot of them, just the main ones. Maybe just repeating some of the main ones that you've got here. Great looking site. You know, easy to see where stuff is, easy to request a code. Got the phone number up here, which is great. I love that. I would also get that phone number, if I were you, into the description tag of the site. So when someone does a search, and I'll just show you what I mean. When someone does a search for you and your site comes up, because what have we got here? We've got soundproof windows, which is the other phrase I looked out for you. Similar sorts of things, but it would be good to get your phone number up here in the description as well. And the reason for that is that a lot of searches are mobile now, and I'm presuming this site is mobile friendly. I haven't checked it on mobile. I'm guessing it is because it's made by a company I know in Melbourne, and I know that they think of those sorts of things. But I would get that phone number actually in the description tag so it will appear high in search when someone searches on the mobile. And the other thing too is get it into your ads. If you're buying that, this ad up here, get your phone number in here for mobile. We did what we call a click-to-call campaign. Adam here, our AdWords guy, and he had a really big win over Christmas. It was a short campaign. It was for a car dealership. Now, this car dealership was trying to sell 6 Ford Festivas over the Christmas break, and we had about $500 to play with on AdWords. So what we did is that we had what we call a click-to-call campaign, which means basically that the phone number, when someone is Googling the key phrases that we bought, that our ad appears with the phone number actually in the ad. So then it's easy for the user to just go, oh, great, click, and start talking to the car dealership. Now, they were trying to sell 6 cars over about a 2 to 3 week period over the Christmas New Year break. Sold 5 of them directly attributed to the AdWords campaign. And you know what the cost per conversion was? $4. So they sold 5 cars at $4 each. That's what it cost for that sort of conversion. That's pretty impressive. So, and we know from last year and from what Google tells us that mobile use is up over 200% now, and people are doing and making purchases with the mobile. So if you are going to do some, and you might already be doing this, I don't know, because I haven't looked at this search on mobile. But this goes for everyone. If you are taking out AdWords campaigns, doing AdWords campaigns, have a think about your audience and how many of them may be mobile. And remember, during certain times of the year, you will see mobile search spikes, especially around holiday periods, holiday times, because people are catching up with family and friends, and they will say, oh, let's just search it on my phone. That's the way it works. So, you know, that's why we'll see those spikes around Christmas time. Otherwise, great site. Just on that second phrase, soundproof windows, if we go down and have a look at the site, you know, we've got it in the page title. That's great. And we've got soundproof products here. And then we go on to talk about household windows, commercial windows, but we're not actually talking about soundproof windows in any of our links. And it's important to get those sorts of things in your links and in prominent places on the page. So, you know, if I was to do a search for soundproof, and this is just an on-page search, we've got soundproofing here, and that's it. So we don't actually have, Google can't actually see the words soundproof windows anywhere on that front page, even though you're ranking for it. Now, if I go to household windows, and we're talking about soundproof products here, right? I'm hoping, okay, see, we've got soundproof windows nice and high up on the page here. That's great. And, you know, Benedict, your web dev guy, he's moved around the page titles, which is good. And this is great. But once again, we've got this Melbourne, Victoria here. Not really necessary. But we don't have that on the front page. So you need to signpost it a bit better for Google so that they know this page is the one that's about soundproof windows. And presumably we haven't got a H1 on this page at all. Oh, we have. Great. So this is what I was talking about before, but we don't have those on the front page. Let's get them on the front page as well as on the, this is what we call a target page. Other than that, get some links up. If you haven't got your Google Plus page up, get it done, and get some of these keywords. You know, I would put Stop Noise as the brand page on Google Plus, and have add-on double glazing, you know, as high up in the About section of your page. Hopefully that's helpful, and we'll see you next week. Oh, by the way, got a webinar coming up on February 9. I've put it on the Facebook page. Go and have a look at it. The Facebook page, in case you haven't been paying attention, is facebook.com Melbourne SEO. And we've got a webinar coming up with Citrix on web video marketing. It's a free webinar, so you'll love it. It'll be great. See you next week. Thanks very much. Bye.